Wiggity, what's up guys? Captain Gamester here in the lab, and I want to talk about my current top picks for the Hasbro mainline Beyblades. I have them all pretty much laid out here. I won't go through all these cards, but I have, the playsets I've shown on my channel, plus all of these, and essentially with a lot of testing and of course watching different videos. So far I've really liked these parts and have made some of my strongest combinations here that are overall balanced and good enough to be played in both Hypersphere and Speedstorm. Now again, if you play Hypersphere, that will technically have more of an advantage in a Hypersphere stadium and a disadvantage in a Speedstorm stadium. And then vice versa, if you play a Speedstorm driver, you'll have an advantage in the Speedstorm stadiums and disadvantage in Hypersphere, which I'll talk more about as I go along these pieces. But let's go and start with the weights, because the weights are going to be the quickest and easiest ones. As you know, Hasbro released Glide Rocktavor with wheel, and this has pretty much changed the game. This thing is clocking in at 24 grams with outer weight distribution. You put this puppy on any driver pretty much, and layer, and you have something that is going to be solid and strong. Now granted, it's smart of them to release this with Speedstorm because this really helps the stability and the speed of the Speedstorm drivers. So this is kind of like the golden top of the line benchmark. You look at this first when you want to build your Beyblade. Now again, if you're going to play so-called competitively, or you're going to make it so that it's balanced, in other words, if you're going to just all use, like you're going to buy like 10 Glide Rocktavors to build every combination with this, then that's a little bit OP. But at the same time, this isn't the best for every combination. Also, when you play, like, let's say the WBBA tournament, what they do is they create a deck of 5 Beyblades, and essentially whichever combination you have in there, you cannot repeat the parts. So like, I think it's fun to play that way, whether or not Hasbro is going to have a competitive mode, but I like to somewhat follow that. I like to go with like 3 Beyblades and then switch 4 stadiums and do battles in each. And then you kind of do the same. You pick an order, and then basically every part that you use cannot be repeated in the combination. So once you have something that has wheel in it, your other 2 bays cannot have wheel, right? So that also kind of balances things out. But that being said, again, this isn't like the best for every combination. It's just really strong and solid in pretty much every combination. And then following that, I'll talk about these metal ones over here as well. These are also kind of a little bit more balanced. Here, circular. This one has a symmetrical, a little bit better for attacking. So when you see ones that aren't perfectly round like these, then they have better like slight swing and weight shifting, which will allow attacking combinations to be able to move a little bit more aggressively and make those powered hits, right? Whereas the stamina and the defense ones want more circular, so they can keep all their centrifugal force just to keep spinning, right? Stamina, you want to keep spinning and outspinning your opponent. And these are coming in at like at the lowest end. These guys here is like about a high 19 grams, 20 grams. And I believe these guys are about like 21 grams. So again, you want to really stay within as close as possible to this 24 bench mark, 24 grams. And these other ones too are really powerful. These ones here, like the 1A, the 1B, these are fused. In other words, they are screwed and attached to this frame here, or this armor. And I find that they are a really good weight. They're about 22, 23 grams. So they're right up there with wheel, and they're made for more attacking. As you can see, like this one here has the 2 notches here, and it's why it's 1A. 1B has a good balance because it's still circular, but there are some protrusions to give it a little bit more of that concentrated attack. So there's also an S one out there. I haven't got that yet, but we'll be looking for that one, I believe. And then of course, what we have here, we have these other ones. I have a 0 here, or outer, and I have 10. And these are great. This has a good balance, I think, between like stamina, attack, and defense, because these are pretty large chunks here with just a little bit of missing sections up there. And then this one definitely is a lot good for attack. It has all these 5 protrusions on each side to make 10. And the cool thing is, these come with the frame. Excuse me, they don't come with them, but I went ahead and used the frame from the other combinations. I know this one came with Minoboris, and you can attach them here to give a little bit more weight. And this can also add to the aggressive nature. As you can see, this has some protrusions here. It's very rigid, so when this hits, this will create extra friction and attack points. Although you got to be careful on this, because this can scrape along the tornado ring of Speedstorm. So you want to use that with something that's higher. This one, here's a cool trick with this. This came with, I believe, yeah, this did come with the Mirage Fafnir. So the nice thing about this is for left spin bays, you want to use this if, like they designed this really well, if the ring, or excuse me, the disc and armor can protrude like this, because this can hit with a strong impact. So this is great for left spin attacking. And this one, again, a great balance here. I took the zero frame, which is, again, very, I guess it's outer, but this one is, again, very heavy. And this particular frame here is, I believe it's Expand from Takara. But this one here adds extra centrifugal force, adds extra width, giving better stamina. And if you're spinning to the right, it can actually hit and lock in. If you're spinning to the left, I think it's a better kind of like defense and stamina combination. But the reason why I have these is, again, I like how these complement each other. So that's pretty much the framework that you want to work with when you're using the forge discs and then the frames or the armors. I find these to be super solid and super strong for sure, and work these into your combinations for sure. Let's quickly talk about the drivers next, because I've been kind of leaning towards a little bit of favoritism with the hypersphere, because they're still able to perform decently in Speedstorm stadiums. Now, what I've noticed after testing and using, as I mentioned, Master over here with this driver and seeing it perform well in all conditions and against all types of combinations from hypersphere and Speedstorm, I've noticed that, of course, it does have a super wide frame because the metal is fused. So this gives it a nice chopping attack. And because it's not completely round, it's able to, again, make those attacks, right? It has a good balance, though. It has still good stamina. And then if you look at the taperedness of what the hypersphere bays are usually like, it's so thick that, like, as it widens up here, it just contributes to more centrifugal force and stamina. Again, a really great balanced driver this one is. I've just found that it works the best with Master. I've seen it do pretty decent on other combinations with other energy layers, but they seem to all be more prone to bursting when using this with, you know, when it's not with Master, basically. Master seems to have the best slopes for it. And even if I've changed the chip a little bit, I've noticed that, you know, with all of these, it still fits tighter. I don't know if it's just within the layers frame right here that they've molded it to be tighter along the tabs here. But again, I've noticed that the tip, if you can look here, I'll bring this up actually really close. So I think this is what defines the hypersphere drivers, is that it is relatively wide and flat with a slight curve. And this particular one has that circle here that basically, that inner lining that I think creates maybe somewhat of an air cushion and promotes continuous circular spinning. So again, this has a great balance of stamina, attack, and defense. It's wide enough to kind of not get knocked out as easily, and, you know, not tip over as well. And again, it has that extra amount of that inside ring, you know, to give it that speed and that stamina. So I've noticed that the best hypersphere tips are generally wider at the bottom. So jumping to those, let's look here. So this one here that comes with Inferno, but it also comes in other colorations and other models. I'll just call this whatever, V2976B. This one is interesting because it also has a very wide tip, as you can see. So like the other ones, for example, this one has a sharper tip than the red one. The red one that comes with Cosmic, let me show you that really quick, actually. So this one here, for example, this one actually tends to burn out of stamina. It moves and spins quick. It has the circles here, and it can kind of spin a little bit more on its side. But because it's more sharper here, or a little bit more rounded, this one actually runs out of stamina more, you know, as it spins around, interestingly enough. Whereas, you know, the flat ones tend to last longer. Now, the reason why I still think this is a decent part, I've been playing with this one, what I'm finding is that the vertical stripings on the hyperspheres create more aggressive attacks. So this one is super powerful because it, again, has a little bit more of a flatter tip than this one. So this has more stamina than this one. And with these extra vertical cutouts here, and even on the driver itself, you know, it's able to move faster and it wants to attack. So, you know, this one, I'm still testing it out, but I'm hoping to see if there's maybe some kind of strength to this one having the tip. You know, the one that has the circles definitely is at a disadvantage, but this one might be able to make some strong attacks if you want to go for something that will hit hard but not maybe have enough stamina. And then this one here has a good weight, and this fits the bill. This is really close to the master layer. That's why this is really powerful. Has a good weight. It has that thickness that goes around it. It's flat here. So this is a great performer, being balanced for defense and stamina. This one here, again, is also very close. Okay, so this purple one, we'll call this, what is it here? Hashtag E9239. This one here is hashtag E7621. And again, too, this has another wide tapering, very thick. The tip is flat. It has like these extra protrusions with just a little bit cut out. And it also has that circular pattern on the tip itself, right? So again, this is another solid driver from Hypersphere for sure. Then I want to give honorable mentions to these, because these are flat. This is the one that came with Genesis, E9242. This is E7621. These are a little bit light, so I seem to think that the lightness makes them run out of stamina quicker and makes them a little bit more prone to being knocked around, but it gives them a little bit more speed. And this has a nice balance of stamina, has the ring here. This one is actually a little bit textured too, so I'm playing around a little bit more with this to see how it works. Has some aggressive cutouts over here as well. But this one so far is a pretty decent performer. It just kind of lags behind other Hyperspheres because it's just a tad bit lighter, you know, than these other ones down here. And then of course, I think another top contender is this one, the Octo or Octave or whatever. This one is, what do they got this as? V2975B. As you can see, this one has a very, very wide flat tip. It also is textured, and it has that like 8-sided, you know, the octave side. It has cutouts here, these vents, but that kind of reduces the weight. But this has very good stamina and I think decent attack as well. This is also another top contender for sure. And then I want to finish off with this one here. Again, this one is a little bit light and it performs pretty well, I would say, you know, on average better than the other Hypersphere ones because it has the more flatter tip, but it's just a little bit more like thin here and it's a little bit more rounded. But this still might be worth trying to do combinations with. Okay, now let's go look really quick at the speed storms. So right off the bat, I think this one is good to use for a stamina defense. You got to put, though, definitely a wide, heavy ring around this, which is why this came with wheel. It can take hits and tank hits for sure, and it has this free spinning disc here. So this is something you want to use. I find these two as well to be very, very good for attacking. This free spinning element here allows them to move around. They do well in Speedstorm, of course, and even in the Hypersphere. And because of this extra width, just like this one, it stays up a lot easier. Although this is heavier at the top, this one actually is a little bit more prone to falling over, believe it or not. But these are very good at staying upright against Hypersphere and against, you know, just being knocked and being hit. I found that this one that's flatter tends to have a little bit more stamina and attack better. This one here, I think, actually spins a little bit faster, right? So that's what I see the differences between these two. And again, this is the F0525, and then this is the V2976B. One that's actually I found pretty interesting here is this design, the F2300, I guess, or I guess there's also V2976B. Huh. Sorry about the parts naming, guys. I don't know all the names off the top of my head. I just usually reference the cards. But regardless, you know, this actually does really well too. It has a small circular protrusion, just like this blue one. So this one spins really, really fast. As long as you launch this hard, put a good weight on it, surprisingly, this can stay up and do some good damage. However, I still recommend like this one over it because in my test so far, this one here will definitely stay up longer and this one is a little bit more prone to being knocked over as well. But again, if you spin this fast enough and build a ring around this that's heavy and wide, this can actually tank hits from hypersphere bays and also hit back really hard. Same goes for this. Now, what's interesting is this is like a heavier version of this, but I find that it has strengths and weaknesses. I think it's good for a defense, but it actually, the extra weight seems to slow this down a little bit, and it doesn't move as freely as this one. But I think it's a good option to take a look at both, depending on what you're building for, whether attack speed or defense or just balance. Maybe if you have lighter parts, this can give you more weight, but again, you're going to be, putting this at the lower center of gravity, but still decent to look at. And this is the V2976B, F0554. And the last two honorable mentions here that I haven't had a chance to test out too much are the rubber drivers. This came with the Brave Valkyrie Speedstorm set. This came with the Master Genesis, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. E4745, and this is F0581, V2976B and V2976B. Okay, well, hopefully I'm giving you guys the right parts. If you have any questions in the comments, let me know and I'll find out what they are exactly for you. But essentially, these attack very aggressively, very aggressively. So I'm trying to play with these different combinations. Again, great for Speedstorm. They do not have stamina at all. So they need to go in, hit fast, hit hard, hopefully get a knockout or a burst. So these will have trouble inside the stadiums that don't have pockets for knockouts, because then they can only pretty much win by burst. But still might be worth considering. I'm not sure what's going to happen to this one when this one wears down. I know that this one here, the pins, as they wear down and it becomes flat like this should become stronger when it's awakened. It should be able to have a little bit more stamina and strength on it. So, it'll have obviously a bigger area of contact, because right now it has all those little parts, so it can attack and move fast, but it doesn't have as strong as a direct contact as like this one. But I'm still excited about these two pieces for sure. For sure. Again, you got to just build aggressively and fast. Okay, now let's take a look. I'm just going to go ahead and focus back out so we can just take a look here at the energy layers. All right, so the energy layers have been also really interesting. Now, I put in here really quick, I'll just show you these ones like Minobora's Spear. Spear so far has let me down, hasn't been hitting as hard. This one gets knocked off balance or just gets basically bursted. Like these Helios ones too don't really have anything special. The Judgment Dragon, although it's wide, it's so hollow that it doesn't do as much. I haven't noticed anything special from that. This has kind of gotten under a little bit and knocked, if you build this flat, it can knock taller bays over, but it's kind of a little bit too light. And these guys here, they don't really connect and hit as hard as some of the other ones. So what I want to show here is, again, the dual hand and the glide. Can't go wrong with these for defense and stamina. They're heavy, they got metal pins at the bottom. Triumph's Dragon is ridiculous. It is, as you can see, wide, beefy, strong, and heavy. This is a stamina defense beast. So you definitely want this. Going also with the wide ones, I want to talk about Air Knight. Air Knight's interesting because it is wide, air pockets, but it has a tendency to get hit hard and wobble, because as you can see, it's almost like each side of it is only half as thick, because it's like kind of like a lower that goes to an upper, right? So it misses the bottom part here. Then when it goes lower, it misses kind of like a top, compared to something like, just look at Triumph, right? So Triumph is like thick through and through as far as the height goes. But that being said, this spins fast and it has a wide attack area. So if you give this, for me, I think a good hypersphere, which generally what it's built for, it's going to have the stability it needs to fight and be strong. For left spins, I don't have Raid. Raid is definitely the strongest attack. So I think Raid is going to be fun to experiment with in the future. I do have the Tactile Leviathan and the Inferno Salamander. And so far this has been, although it's kind of, I think, more defense here and stamina, this has been a little bit of a good balance. But this one definitely, the Tact is good at attack and a little bit at defense. However, again, I've had trouble with combinations defeating Master. But that being said, they're still pretty powerful overall. But after Raid, I think my favorite one is the Mirage. I like how it's all rubber. And if you build this tight and compact, This can deflect, rebound, and counterattack people. Even Master, it stands up a really good chance. In my tests, I've been able to consistently tie or beat Master with Mirage. And with those same combinations, I've had trouble with Tact and Salamander, but I still want to mention them because they have promise. Again, this is large and this one is wide and heavy. So I don't want to count these two out yet. Now, also, Monster, even though it's small, is really strong for attacking because of these 4 ridges here on each side, which comes in 3. So again, build is strong, and this should hit hard. Give it either heavyweight with a super, I think, heavier Speedstorm, or give it a Hypersphere. And this thing will be able to tank hits and dish out hits, and you have good stamina. Master Genesis. I'm having fun testing with this one. This one is a beast also for attacking. It is thick, it is heavy, and of course the protrusions here. As you can see, as a right spin, it just basically has these points of contact that are hard. It'd be awesome if this could hit this way, right? Like, but still, like, it hits really solid here, here, and what it does is brings up the bay, and then bam, it smacks them, right? So this thing has been really powerful for attack for sure. And yeah, that's pretty much been all of my pieces and parts here. Let me know if I missed any. I know I didn't talk about Universe, or I guess Metal, what it is, but this one is one of the strongest to come out of Speedstorm. This is almost like a Hypersphere, but this one is fantastic. It has metal chunks, basically. So this should be a must-have in your deck. It has metal chunks, has a wide free spinning wheel here, independent of this free spinning piece here. Look at that. So this is great to move around, Hypersphere even. This can tank hits. It can basically stay standing up in your combinations. When it hits walls and stuff like that, it can spin and go with it. So this one right here is, again, a must-have for combinations, you know, and basically it should be in one of your most powerful combinations for sure. Just kind of like Wheel. As a matter of fact, I see a lot of combinations with Wheel and Universe. It's very strong. But I mean, again, you can do different things and flex it. So the last two I noticed again is these guys. I've been playing with them, and this has been a good defense, a good attacker again, because of the chunks. I haven't gotten them as consistent as I want to, but that doesn't mean I'm giving up on them. I'll definitely do more testing, so I definitely want to give them honorable mentions and shout outs. So there you guys go. That's been my analysis so far with Hasbro. Again, I think in the terms of, like, if you could play this game competitively and you go against your friends and you try to be balanced and you say, okay, we're going to each bring like 3 at a time, you know, like hidden, and then we're going to go in order. We'll play like the first one, the second one, the third one. We'll score points to see either who gets the most points or maybe first to 10. And then it's fun to circulate into 4 arenas. I say red Speedstorm bucket, orange Hypersphere bucket, the most awesome drop Hypersphere, and then of course the Volt Knockout Speedstorm. That way you have 2 Hypersphere, 2 Speedstorms, and each one you get the 3 battles in it, and you have such an epic campaign, so to speak, and just like a really awesome 3-on-3. I think maybe in the future, as Hasbro gets more Pro Series, you can maybe add to the end like a Pro Series battle with like 1 or 2 combinations too. Right? It'll be pretty nice, I think, to play Hasbro that way. So there you guys go. Let me know what you think. These have been my favorite pieces to build combinations with so far. They've definitely been more powerful. They've definitely defeated these guys here regularly, and you know, these other bays. And again, the lighter parts, the other drivers so far that haven't been able to really stand up to these. But let me know, again, if you have powerful combinations with other pieces that I haven't shown here. Maybe I've overlooked something, or maybe I haven't got a chance to test it as much. So I definitely want to hear your guys' opinions and what you guys have been coming up with. And hey, maybe we'll battle in the future. Thanks so much for hanging out with Captain Gamesta. See you guys again soon.